Welcome to the Thought Brothers. I'm Gary Johnson, aka Mr. Producer. Tonight, we sit down with two powerhouse voices who helped shape a blueprint that has guided professional women and men for years, and who are now back to tell us what the next move looks like. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge a remarkable woman whose voice, wisdom, and leadership helped shape this work and inspire generations of women leaders, and that is Marsha Haygood, your partner who passed away earlier this year. Marsha was more than a co-author. She was kind of in the business like me as a consultant. She was a trailblazer, a mentor, executive leader, and a champion for women striving to reach their full potential. And although she's no longer with us, her influence continues to be felt through the lives she's touched, the barriers she helped to break, and the wisdom she shared in these books. And so we'll hear more about her contributions along with our guests, Elaine, Meryl Brown, and Rhonda Joy McLean, the co-authors of the Little Black Book of Success, the Workbook, and now the next Little Black Book of Success. Their words resonate, their words matter. And as we celebrate this tonight, I just want to talk and say, ladies, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Gary, for having us.
We also have our two guests. I say our guest co-hosts. We have Renee Spivey and Ilka Rodriguez. And so they're both business women, so they know how things go. But we all want to hear a little bit about what's going on. But let me just start it off with the first question. What did Marsha represent in this work and in your lives professionally?
Marsha was the person who introduced me to Elaine, and Elaine will tell you in just a moment how we got started. But I just want to say that we bring Marsha with us when we come. So Marsha's spirit is infused in all three of our books, and we bring her with us. When we appear in person, we have a video tribute, which includes Marsha-isms, and we'll tell you more about that, which are little tidbits of leadership tools. But she was a phenomenal woman, married to a phenomenal man for 42 years. And unfortunately, we lost them both to illness within a 2-year period. But she was great, and we love her still.
Okay.
Absolutely. As Rhonda said, we channel Marsha whenever we have these conversations because she's so much a part of the work that we've done that, as you know, probably started around 2015 because the first book was published in 2010. But I first met Marsha at a luncheon, at a Time Warner luncheon, and we kind of sort of randomly sat close to each other. And that was on the heels of me coming out of a leadership class at HBO and actually learning how to network with people, which is not just an exchange of business cards, but actually a relationship building opportunity. So when I wanted to create a network or small group, the first person I reached out to was Marsha, who was an executive vice president at New Line Cinema at the time. And I was only a vice president at HBO. So I actually reached higher, a level higher than me, thinking she'd be way too busy to even say yes. But you know what? She said the yes. And that's the beginning of actually our journey, Marsha, Rhonda, and my journey to write this leadership trilogy.
And we've been friends for 26 years. So we networked and we did peer mentoring for a number of years before we even thought about the book. So I think it's important, just as we have this group of really smart people here and we can learn from each other, we want to encourage our audience to reach out to each other and help each other through these challenging times.
Yeah. And as we were learning about each other, we said, hey, we got to bottle this. We got to put this in a bottle and we have to, pass the baton to the next generation because we were talking, amongst ourselves, and we had so much knowledge. 30 years apiece collectively, close to 90 years of experience, each in different areas of the media and entertainment industry. So this is definitely our give back.
Yes.
Well, I remember when I first met you all at a party somewhere in DC. I was drawn to you all, and next thing I know, I'm like, I want to be a part of this because I was a consultant. And I remember dragging you down to WHUR.
You did. That was fun. You did. We had a blast.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. I want to open it up here to our panel. I'm going to start with deference to Mr. Spivey, our researcher. What do you have, Mr. Spivey, for the ladies? What say you?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question, Gary. I went through yours book and, I noted this book was basically targeted for Black women. But personally, I think Gary and I need to get together and write a book for Black men. Because in listening to I bought the audio book, and listening to the audio book, it is something that I think goes across the spectrum of men and women.
Mm-hmm.
And it is definitely very, very relative today. It's just a few points that you talk about in the book with the personal leadership notebook, the P&L. That's
Mhm.
something that I think any young people entering the workforce today, whether they're a man or woman, should start right from the
Yes.
beginning. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that you all talk about that I feel not only is prominent in business, but it's prominent in anything you do in life. One of the things in your book, I think it was in chapter 1, and you talked about you're always a VIP.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Yes.
talked about you dress a certain way, you feel a certain way, you act a certain way, and you remember things. And
Yes.
this is something that I think applies not only to business, but also to just your everyday, just
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
acting for every day. So the thing I want to ask you all is, do you think that things have changed drastically with the current political climate uh, and I guess I want to say the extinguishing of Black women? I know that there's an attack on Black executive women at high
Yes.
levels, and that is very constant. A lot of people are not aware of it, but I'm aware of it, and so
Yes.
I just want to get your opinion on. Do you think I know that things in this book is relevant, but how would it compare with the political climate today and the attack that women are getting?
Well, we know that 600,000 women, Black women in relatively high places, have been laid off, demoted, fired, or
That's
in some
correct.
other way removed from their positions. However, um, over the last 50 years, from time to time, including during COVID, women have lost their jobs at 4 times the rate of other people. And it hasn't always been recorded, but this is not new. So we wrote the book to address the everyday challenges that every Black professional woman faces and every Black professional person's places.
That's
It's not
true.
just Black women who are losing their jobs, it's Black men, it's externships, internships, scholarship opportunities. And so what we want is we don't want to focus on what's missing. We want to focus on how can we work together to lift each other up and move forward. We believe in the power of the sisterhood, of peer mentoring, of sisters helping sisters, of Black people helping Black people. What you're doing here is phenomenal in terms of enterprise, helping people develop entrepreneurship skills. Our book we see as a practical guide to rebuilding your career and surviving and thriving.
Yeah, each chapter in our book sort of reflects a skill set, a leadership skill set. And the book is very conversational. It's not, esoteric. It's not preachy. It's like, we're talking to our audience, not down, at our audience. That's one of the things I love about our book. And the chapters are short and and
8 minutes.
just offer and
Yes,
practical and offer
yes,
practical advice. And as you mentioned, Bill, the PLN, the personal leadership notebook, that is a critical part of anyone's success journey during their career. And we wrote the book, we wish we had when we were,
yeah,
Yeah.
entering the workforce. I mean, our parents tell us get good grades, go to a good school, get a good job, and that's when the advice usually stops. So our book kind of picks up where that leaves off, and the first person you lead is yourself is kind of the main theme, through this new book.
And the one thing I would add is that we were asked by our publisher to write the third book. It wasn't our idea. They came back to us and said, after the pandemic, is there anything else you have to say about Black women leading in the workplace? And each one of you, I'm sure, has something to say about what it takes to lead now. Look at what we're doing right now. We couldn't have done this 10 years ago. So we have to lead a global workforce, people who speak a different language, people who are different ages, and people whose idea of what work is different from yours.
Mhm.
Well, the only thing I'll say in closing is, I wish I had had this book when I went to work for one of the alphabet agencies that I was with, and I'm sure Gary wish he had had this book because there's quite, you talk about, I think it's I believe it was chapter 2. You talk about 2 types of prejudice, and you
Mhm,
talk about individual prejudice and systematic prejudice. That's
mhm,
something that a lot of these young people in this
Mhm.
political climate need to read this book and listen to and understand, because you all break down the 2 different types of prejudice. And if you
mhm.
can identify them, then you can deal with them if you
Yeah.
see them coming. So, hey, hats off to you all. I'm not going to take up too much
Yeah.
time,
Well,
but
no, that's great. And
it's,
I just wanted to say, I mean, to your point about with the dismantling of DEI, a lot of us had the benefit of having an equal opportunity, a so-called quote unquote equal opportunity to at least have a door open.
yeah,
And as doors feel like they are closing and they are closing, it's more important now than ever for young people or any person, to any Black woman in particular, in the workforce to have access to our book because leadership can be taught, leadership can be learned. These are skills that people aren't aware of, many of them, that they do need to have to be successful because it's the tech skills or the hard skills that get them into the door, but it's the soft skills that will sustain, a career over an extended period of time. And all this information, like, as I said, I wrote the book I wish I had, and I still refer to our book. It's like, what do we say in chapter, like,
Yeah,
36 about X, Y, Z and
yeah,
emotional intelligence? Yes, I need to have
yeah.
some right
But
now.
If
to your
I if
point
I
about,
could
yeah,
if
please
I could
jump in.
interject,
Yes.
Gary, so I am a woman of color. I'm Latina, and what I always struck me. I worked for the CIA for 36 years. That's where I met Gary about 30 years
Hmm.
ago,
Hmm.
and I was the first Latina in HR to make executive. And I think it took me longer than it did my colleagues of Western European descent.
Of course.
You know, but what struck me when I first arrived in 1985, I worked for the director of science and technology, and brilliant technically, but interpersonally, inept. And I saw how my ability to build relationships from day one really helped me succeed in the agency. And I fear for my 16-year-old
Mm,
who's introverted and loves technology. And I'm like,
Yes.
honey, you got to get out there. You got to learn about people. And good leaders learn about the people they lead. You can't
Yes.
just, and so when you talk about those at EQ, and the other thing is, as a daughter of immigrants, I didn't know what I didn't know.
hmm
And
Yes.
so I look at something like your book and I'm thinking, wow, a leg up for people. It's kind of like, wake up, you should know these things. And I agree. I wish I had had something like this in 1985. So kudos to you both. And just I had to interject.
Well, thank you
I
for
was
that.
coming to you anyway next, Ilka. So
Thank
Oh,
you,
okay.
man.
so you'll have time to come back. I want to swing the pendulum down to CJ and
Mhm.
then over to Miss Spivey. CJ, let me get in here.
Sure. Definitely wanted to reiterate some of the things that Mr. Spivey said. He took some of my great points that I wanted. The research is always one step ahead, but I think the book is a valuable resource to people even outside of the corporate world or outside of just women in general. And I think that's what makes it special and unique. Even somebody in like the music scene, like where I'm at, I think there's a valuable tools you can learn about just leadership in general. And as you said, a great example that was just brought up. I know some great musicians who are great at playing their instrument and they're top notch, maybe the best in the world, but they don't have those people skills and those other skills to navigate the industry, to get jobs consistently, to, be able to manage themselves in bands and the little things. So I think it's great that there's a resource like this that can be applied not just to the corporate world, but to basically anything in terms of life skills.
Okay. Thanks, CJ.
Yeah.
Mrs. Spivey, entrepreneur, businesswoman.
Well, before I was an entrepreneur and businesswoman, I was a civil servant. And in 1975, I was the first African American to be hired to work in the clerk of the court's office in Norfolk, Virginia. And I knew I was the first and only there. And I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I had to be taught everything. But I had some skills that I had learned as a child growing up in a house with a mama and a grandmama.
Yes.
And your
Yes.
first impression was always important.
Yes.
Your appearance was always important.
Absolutely.
Being polite and respectful to people, even when they didn't deserve it, was important. And so I wish that you ladies had written your books back there in 1975 or 80 when I really could have used them. But I relied on the teachings from my parents and my church and the Girl Scouts and all those things. All of those things were part of a quilt that that covered me. And I managed to survive it. But
Yes.
and I have not read all your books. I've read some excerpts or whatever, and I am going to get more into it. But later in life, after I retired early in 1999, I opened a company. I incorporated myself and had a nice business going, and later even hired my husband to come in to be the HR man. But my business was government contracting. And that was when I really could have benefited from your books because I was entering a male-dominated arena, and here I am, a Black female, and I'm not very tall. I'm 5'2", and I don't.
Rhonda, there you go. That's
I don't
Rhonda's
have
height.
the big. But then I
2 inches
opened my
shorter.
mouth, and they said, "Oh yes, she's in the room,"
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Yes,
That was-
indeed. Well,
but
go
it's
ahead.
interesting, the book, the concept that you all have. I think it's fantastic. And it ought to be a must read for a certain segment of society.
Yes.
It really
Yes.
should be a must
We're
read.
pushing it out as best we can. Go ahead, Ron. I know you want to respond. I
Well,
do as well.
well,
Go
to
ahead.
two quick things. First of all, thank you all. We so appreciate your taking the time. Many people haven't actually read our books when they're talking to us, and so they're just talking into the air. So one thing I want to point out is in book 1, which is the book which we saw as a mentor in your pocket for young people. We have over 200 mama-isms, and those are things like Miss Spivey that you learned, that your teacher said, your mama said, your grandmama said, your auntie, your Girl Scout troop leader said, or your Baptist training union. I grew up in North Carolina in the Bible Belt, told you on Sundays. But
BTU.
there you go. See, I knew you would know. I'm right there with you. And I integrated my high school when I was 13 in North Carolina with a sheriff with a gun. So I'm right there with you. I was 13. So, but those firm foundations that you stand on, what you believe in, your faith tradition, your word is your bond, those things your parents taught you, these are the things that make you great leaders. And what I'm concerned about is through the pandemic, and we did a lot of mentoring here in New York with young people, they wouldn't even turn their cameras on. They didn't even understand. Like, we are all looking at each other. And just there's something about that contact that's so important to relationship building, like Elaine talked about, networking, and then building, as Ilka talked about, the relationships that can make you really, really show up and grow up into the leadership role in the workplace, even if they don't like you, even if they're not sure you should be there. I too, all of us have been first in some way or another, but you stand on what you know, and then you build from that. The one thing I would add before I turn it over is listening. I grew up in a family where we talk a lot, and we talk fast, and we might talk over you, which is rude, but we might do it. I had to go to the Center for Creative Leadership to learn how to listen effectively. I think that the best leaders listen well.
It's true.
And that's great, Rhonda. I just wanted to add to something Ilka said, or address something Ilka said about her introverted son, because that's kind of my story. You would not believe it by me being on this podcast, but I really was very shy. I really was reticent to go to networking events and introduce myself to people and to step outside my comfort zone. We talk about that a lot in our first book and our second book, but we talk about also that it's important to be strategic in developing relationships and in being intentional about navigating our careers. So, which also translates to life, CJ also translates to what we do in life in general. But it's a practice that, I would encourage your son to continue doing, to go to a networking event and meet at least 1, 2, or 3 people and try to develop, a strategic networking, not just, going out to be going out, but whatever his interests are, whatever his passion is, to start to build his success team, his tribe, his community. And 16 is a great age to start, practicing that work. But it is something, again, that can be learned. A lot of these skills, can be learned. Not everyone's an extrovert.
And if you don't know one, be one. So, if you don't see a network, start a network. You can start it online. You can do something like this. So we just are very encouraged. What I love about us as a people, we are polyphonic, we are magical. We can take something and nothing and turning into something. This we know about you, Gary. And I'm learning about, you start with one idea and you end up with 100 different enterprises. But that's what Black people are known for. Look at all we've survived. We will survive this time. And we just have to help each other make it through.
Yeah.
Okay. Carlos, chomping at the bit. Go ahead, my
All
man.
right, let me jump in here.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Always great to hear from Miss Bobby too down there. I see you, Miss Brown, Miss McLean. Hey, look, I work with a nonprofit that works with a lot of high school student athletes, and we're into our 6th calendar year. So now these high school student athletes who are trying to learn leadership skills in the classroom and on the field and in competition, they transition to college, and now we're getting to the point now where some are starting to transition out of college. And one of the things I've noticed about all of the ones that we've talked to and mentored over the last 5 to 6 years is they all keep referring to me. What do I have to do to be successful? What's the next step? What's the next thing I can do? Where do I need to go from here? And they never, you're right, listening is a key aspect, because I want to hear them out. I want to hear exactly what's on their heart, what they're thinking before giving any answers. And all of them have consistently the same story of believing it's all them. And then when I start to mention, who are your contacts? Who are your networks? Who are you working with? Who, we may be a specialist in this area, but there's so many different areas in life that you need advice and guidance from. Who's in your network? And they look at me like, what network? I'm just trying to achieve this by myself. So I think your theme that you've had of success is rarely achieved alone is very important. And maybe Miss Brown and Miss McLean, could you guys elaborate on that through your experiences and just give us some feedback? Because I'm wondering how the rest of the world is really taking that, because that's a very important aspect.
Well, we do live in an I, me society, which is a mistake. So I want to bring Miss Marsha, our beloved colleague whom we lost in January, into the room. Here are 3 questions that we think each person should ask themselves, particularly a young person. It's like, who do you need to know? Who do you need to know that you don't yet know? And then who do you need to know? And then who needs to know you? Because often we don't do that last thing. We're so busy trying to get our name in. And I remember I worked like a dog. I worked hard, but not smart. And it was Marsha that said, you should not be. I was the first Black woman attorney working in-house at Time, which published all of the 50 magazines, Time, Fortune, People, Essence, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't want anyone saying, well, that Black attorney, didn't get back to me, or that Black woman attorney, blah, blah, blah. But what I found is I was the one staying until midnight. The people who had asked me for the thing that they said was urgent had gone home. So It took me a couple of times before I realized people respect you when you respect yourself. So you have to set some boundaries. But for your young people, I would first say, who do you need to know? Get to know people. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone like you, Mr. Carlos, and ask for a 15-minute interview. You're not asking for a job, but you're saying, Mr. Carlos, I so admire you in this organization, whatever kind of organization it is. I'd love to just bring you a bagel and coffee. And could we just talk? I'd love to know how you got here and what your career trajectory is like. People love to talk about themselves. Sometimes those 15-minute interviews lead to jobs, lead to an opportunity to shadow someone, and so forth and so on. So I think that that's one way that our book can be useful to young people entering the workforce.
Well, thank you, Miss McLean. Maybe I can direct this next question to Miss Brown. So, what's one habit you had to break to reach the next level?
I would
I
say,
just heard Miss McLean say a lot of great things about some things she had to do, but
yeah. Well, for
hmm.
me, as an introvert, that was a major barrier I had to break. The turning point for me, in all transparency, was when HBO, as a creative person, CJ, I was vice president of creative services, I didn't consider myself to be a leader, even though I led 3 creative teams, because I didn't think people perceived me as being a leader because I didn't have an MBA. I didn't work in the finance department. I wasn't, having conversations about what should we plan to do as a corporation next year. So, but when I went to was invited to take this leadership class, day one, I when things were brought to my attention, Miss Spivey, I brought with me, I went as far as I can go with all of the things I had learned growing up, all the things my aunties had taught me, all of the things I learned in Scout Troop and the other mentors, the other adults that I had around me. But that there were actual skills that I needed to learn. And one of them was to step outside my comfort zone. I didn't realize I needed a success team around me. I kind of thought, yeah, for the grace of God go I'm kind of climbing the corporate ladder. But once I took this leadership class, I said to myself, oh my goodness, I mean, literally, imagine how many Black women who already have great jobs, how much farther along in their careers they could be if only they had access, resources, and opportunity. Oh my goodness, one day, let me start this process by being nervous to reach out to Miss Marsha Haygood, who was the EVP, thinking that she might say no, but that was a big step for me to take, stepping outside. What if Marsha had said no? I mean, I would not have been I would have been disappointed. Rejection is also a part of life, but Marsha did not say no, and so that was encouragement for me. And of course, she's a part of my success team. I think that phrase "success team" needs to be taught to children, young people, at a very early age, so that they know no one succeeds alone. People need community. They need their tribe to lift them up and to help them along the way. And their success team should not just be people who look like them. I mean, it should be a rainbow coalition, if you will.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so that's important as well.
Thank you very
Mhm.
much. I think in one of Gary's favorite movies, Coming to America, I think there was a little old lady said, on the subway said, "Take a chance, honey, take a chance, step out there."
Yes,
Yeah.
So
yes.
maybe that's the message I'm hearing tonight. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Ilka, get back in here with some of the challenges, and maybe we can talk about this. Um, I'm curious, Ilka, when we work together, uh, you're right. You and I were kind of the only or the highest ranking at the time. And how do you effectively advocate for yourself and still maintain your authenticity? How did you do that?
Yeah. Well, at first it felt like I was just bragging. But then I realized it's not about that. You mentioned people have to know who you are. And once I understood that, um, I would listen. So I'm a high extrovert, but I'm also a very good listener.
Mhm.
And I would listen for cues
Mm.
in conversations, certainly with the senior most people at the agency, but with anyone. Is there an opportunity for me to enhance this conversation by telling them something unique about me or something that I'm able to do? Are they expressing information about a need maybe that I could address? And I advocated for myself really early on. I was undercover for the first 7 years and I did spy work. But I got basically treated very poorly by a manager. And I just said to myself, you know what? I don't think I want to do that work for that guy. And I advocated for myself by going out and conducting informational interviews.
Yes.
And I just talked to senior people in areas of interest. And I happened upon recruiting and HR. And I basically said goodbye to covert operations and got into HR. And I think that was a technique that I used over and over again. When doors closed, I said, no, okay, let me look for another opportunity. Let me talk to people. And I think that just it's helping me now in my business. I'm relatively new at being an entrepreneur. And, candidly, it was a big transition to go from 36 years as a civil servant to an entrepreneur. But then I thought, no, no, no. Those same skills that I use at the agency, I can apply now. And that's basically it. It's careful listening. And my partner says his mom always used to say, you don't ask, you don't get. And I think that that's really important. So that's what certainly has helped me in my career.
Okay.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Elaine and Rhonda, quick question, and then we can pass this question on to the others. But I'm just curious, what's one leadership mistake that taught you the most?
I was a leader at 22, and I was not a very good one. So, because I did not know what leaders do, which Elaine referred to earlier, this having a vision, thinking strategically, planning for the team, not just doing day-to-day operations. I didn't know that. I was young. I was running a Head Start program. I worked for 10 years before I went to law school and starting a 40-year legal career. Now I'm an executive coach. So, like all of you, we do many things. But I did not listen well. I micromanaged and I kind of stood over people because I didn't know I was supposed to be in my own office planning for their training and development. But because I was too young and I also did not ask enough questions. So if I had asked, what should I be doing? Just like Ilka was saying in those early years, and Mrs. Spivey, you didn't know and you needed to learn. I'm a Leo. I'm a firstborn. I'm a firstborn. We tend to be a little arrogant and we don't like people to know that we don't know things. I'm just going to put that out there. So I'm a little older now and hopefully a little wiser. So I would say learning what the job is, asking more questions, and building confidence.
Okay. How about you, Elaine?
Yeah, to answer that question, while Rhonda was speaking, I was thinking to be intentional. I wasn't always intentional in my career. I didn't always have a strategy, and I didn't always ask the right questions, or seek the kind of feedback that I would need in order to move forward in my career. Part of that being because I was an introvert, and part of it because maybe I felt like I wasn't deserving, or I needed to deserve more. I needed to value myself more. I certainly do that now as I've developed even more confidence, and certainly peer mentoring with Marsha and Rhonda sort of helped me through a lot of those challenges that I might have had. I would say, yeah, I would say those three things, because I just kind of very goal oriented, very focused, very passionate. Those things, those qualities I have, but being intentional, I don't think I was to the extent that I could have been. And keeping a PLN, we talked about that earlier, personal leadership notebook, because all of us are so talented and are so gifted that we take what we do for granted. And I think writing down our accomplishments we need to remind ourselves. Sometimes I look at my resume and I'm like, oh my goodness, who is this person? I did all this. Yeah, it's incredible. We are all amazing. So we need to keep track of how amazing we are, because that also helps us in salary negotiations. Because if we learn
Yes.
how to negotiate salaries early on, we'll be much farther. We'll have a lot more capital down the road by the time we retire. So all of that's why our book is so incredibly important. The 40 chapters, the 40 skill sets. And I was not even aware of a lot of these before we started, to write and come together and think about what's really important. What do people really need to know? And as I said, I still read our book, so other people
It's
will
our research tool
find
too.
benefit in reading our book as well. We just want to help folks. And by the way, our first book, we're just getting out here with this new book, but our first book, Rhonda, right? We had a lot of men writing great reviews for us.
Yes,
We've had gay
yes,
men, Latinas and Latinos,
yes.
um, people across the board,
And people
saying
in
how much
other
they
countries
benefited from our
too.
book.
People in other countries too. What we found is because leadership itself is leadership, there are things you just have to do. You have to be able to be strong. You have to make decisions with the best information you have at the time. You have to be able to withstand criticism. You have to be able to move from 3 times I moved from being in a team to then managing that team. That's difficult. But the leadership itself remains the same, but how it manifests in your life, what kind of leader you are, and your style has a lot to do with what we're discussing here tonight. Your background, your faith, where you come from and what you believe in. So,
Okay. Mrs. Spivey, and then I want to get the fellas because this is a good question. I'm getting a lot of rich answers. So Mrs. Spivey, Ilk, and then the fellas. One leadership mistake that taught you the most.
For me, I think it was probably not being secure enough in my own value to promote myself. I think because of my station in life and other um, things that were going on, I had to keep myself safe. And there were times when I look back on it that I know that I could have gone further. I could have pushed upward more, but I was safe and comfortable where I was. And if I just stayed that course, I was going to be okay.
Mhm.
But I think in hindsight, it could have been a different story. And
Okay.
that's in my civil service life as well as my corporate life.
Okay.
I've always been a cautious person,
All right.
very cautious.
Mr. Spivey, you got something in your throat? You was okay.
You
Ilk.
know, Gary, it's funny that brought back something. I asked her one time, I said, Renee, you are so cautious. Tell me, she used to always call me a daredevil. I used to do downhill ski racing. I flew airplanes. I was undercover in the FBI for 5 years. And so I said to her one day, tell me the most daring thing you ever did. She thought for about 2 minutes and she said, married your ass.
love it,
That
love it,
part,
love it, love it.
That's
that's why
the
I had something in my throat.
okay. That's the Mrs. Spivey I know. That kind of
That
answer.
is
Yeah.
hilarious.
Love
And
it.
if I may interject here, Rhonda, Bill and I are both Leos.
Yeah, we are.
Uh-oh.
Mm.
Then there we go. Say no more.
Uh-oh.
I'm a Leo
Ilka.
too. Put me in. Put
Uh-oh.
me
You
in.
Oh, I
too?
love it.
That's right.
I love it.
Ilka.
I love
I
it.
don't know, Miss Spivey. You must have like a Cancer or water sign rising in there somewhere
Yeah,
because you
I'm
seem
close
like
to
you.
Cancer. He's a full look.
Yeah,
He's a
see, I could tell.
Full
Listen,
blooded.
blown.
I'm cautious too.
Yeah.
Move this way, move that way. I'm a crab. So
And I'm full
we got.
blown Leo like you, Mr. Spivey, and probably you, Mr. Carlos. So
Oh my goodness. Ilka,
I
what
understand,
what
Miss
mistake
Spivey.
what leadership mistake that taught you, and then I'm gonna go to CJ.
I didn't understand the difference in personality
Mm,
preferences.
mm,
And I was an E off the charts. And I always say too much of a good thing is no longer a good thing.
mm.
And I was high, big picture, and I just realized, hey, Ilka, not everybody works out of your paradigm. And I learned how to function with the other preferences. So I found that moderation as far as my personality preferences was very important. So I became a more benign extrovert and, intuitive, big picture. I softened my thinking, kind of, in your face truth, style. And I like things open ended, and you really can't be a successful leader unless you are more systematic. So, I went from a flaming and all those preferences to a more moderate one. And the two biggest changes for me were my lowering my extroversion to succeed, learning how to listen. And the other one was you got to come to closure. You can't have everything open ended. And so I altered my personality preferences because I wanted to be an executive. And I knew that if I relied too much on my preferences, I would not be able to succeed and relate to those who were different to me.
Okay. All right. CJ, leadership mistake that taught you the most.
Okay, leadership mistake that taught me the most. I feel like one of the reasons that I've been a failure as a leader is because I haven't been ruthless enough in terms of running the business, in terms of like being in the art in business and working with a lot of friends and things like that. There are a lot of people I should have fired a lot faster. There are a lot of, like I said, things about focusing on the bottom line more than people's feelings and the experience and things like that. So just being, more focused on the business aspect and not anything else.
Okay. All right. You still got plenty of time, but at least you learned it. Carlos and then Mr. Spivey.
Wow. Hey, look, I have learned in a leadership position, whether it's with your subordinates, whether it's with your peers, don't visibly have a bad day while you're in a leadership position. If you do, people love to follow your lead, whether it's good or bad. I think, what was it? One of those commercials said, don't let them see you sweat. Because if you start sweating, everybody starts sweating. So you got to stay cool, calm. You got to stay collected even when you don't want to. And every once in a while, I throw a joke out there and say, you know what? I know what you're thinking, and I'm thinking it too, but we're going to smile and get through this.
That's nice.
Don't let them see you sweat.
Okay.
I hear you. I hear you.
Mr. Spivey.
It's funny. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to everyone talk, and I really, really listened to that book, the audio book extensively. And in listening to people talk, I'm able to relate to different things that were in the book. I listened to Ilka talk about people getting promoted and people that, she knew that shouldn't have been. And in the book, they call it, Rhonda and Elaine call it falling up, people who fail and get promoted. And that was one of the things that I learned as an FBI agent. You saw people who screwed up cases, screwed up investigations, and they got promoted.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons that they were promoted was a lot of times, and they use it as an excuse, is they promote these people because they want to take them off of the street. Because if they don't take them off the street, they're a danger to themselves and others. And so that was one of the leadership things that I made a mistake. And one of the things in the book that you all talk about is a positive declaration is more powerful than a negative one. Never let them see you sweat. Never let them see that you're afraid. I went into an organization and I was kind of young, and I did not really know the organization in depth. And I was going into an organization where it was prevalent with the two types of things that you all talk about in your book: individual prejudice and systematic prejudice. And these are the people who were supposed to investigate when people's civil rights were violated. So, I will reiterate anyone who is who's even in business now or going in business or starting out, they definitely should read this book. And chapter 8, I have to take my hat off to the ladies because they named chapter 8 Aretha, RESPECT, respect yourself. So I'll close it at that. Listen to this book or read this book, because everything I've listened to people say here, they touch on every point in one of the chapters in this book.
Well, on that note, here's how I want to close out the show. I just want to go around and ask you all to share one important message you hope people take away from this podcast. Elaine, what do you hope people take away from watching this show?
I hope that people take away the point that our book is very valuable for people, Black women in particular, in the workforce, especially for young people transitioning from college into the workforce. And our first book is A Mentor in Your Pocket, The Little Black Book of Success. The Workbook Companion supports our first book, and this new book, The Next Little Black Book of Success, is a roadmap to the future. So I hope that people take away the leadership trilogy that Rhonda, Marsha, and I created is a must read, a must use, the most valuable resource for us available today.
Okay, thank you. Rhonda, what's the takeaway you hope people?
My takeaway is this. I think we really must believe in ourselves. In this time of challenge, I've lost contracts like you. We have been realistically impacted. I mean, this is a real serious thing that's happening. But out of the chaos, as we know, comes opportunity. So I think that we are the people we've been waiting for. We are the ones who can lead ourselves forward, and we can help each other. So believe in yourself. Don't let anybody, shut down your feeling of faith in yourself, and then be open to new opportunities. I do believe that where a door closes, a whole wall of opportunity is open. So let's be open to new opportunities and let's co-create them. Black women and men, all of you on this podcast, we're the ones who create jobs for others, and we're the ones who open doors for others. So let's help each other move it through. Believe in yourself and help others move through and forward.
Okay, thank you. Miss Spivey, a takeaway for you or a takeaway that you hope people who are watching this podcast walk away with?
I've listened to the comments of these three wonderful ladies. I'm reminded of a statement that was said to me back in, I don't know, I guess it was in the 80s or early 90s, I guess. There was a state senator in Maryland. Her name was Gloria Lawler, and she tried her best to bring me into politics. She groomed me. She sent me to all kinds of leadership conferences all over the country and I just kept saying, Gloria, I am not a politician. I am too honest. I can't do it. But her thing was, she said, Renee, there's politics in everything. And whether you're running for office or just maneuvering through the day, there's politics in everything. You have to listen to the other person, apply your own common sense, and move forward. And so she summed it up that way to me, and you all have done that again today. Because it's all politics. It's learning to deal with people, apply your skill set, but be able to maneuver the room, read that room.
Yes.
All right. CJ, takeaway.
I just think people should take a chance to check out the book and all the valuable lessons that are in it. So it's like, I think this is just a great platform to amplify that and to, give the 5-star review for people to check it out.
Okay. Carlos.
Thank you.
Hey, it's very simple to me. Success is rarely achieved alone. Build a reliable, diverse network and read these books. That's my take.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Mr. Spivey.
Very easy. From the book, chapter 8, Respect Yourself. And also, I think it was in chapter 3, always consider yourself a VIP, a very important person. Dress that way, feel that way, and act that way. And I think that will apply to business or just in general in life. Respect yourself. And remember, first impressions are lasting impressions.
Okay. Ilka, you got the last word.
Oh, I think Elaine and Rhonda and Marsha really talk about what I call a wealth mentality, in that we people of color have to do for ourselves, help each other, support each other, help each other to grow, because no one else is going to do it for us. And that's especially true of women of color. There's pie for everyone, I used to say. Your success does not depend on your denigration of me. Your success is my success.
Yes.
And if we can have that wealth mentality about our success and our development, we're good to go.
Wow. Thank you all. I think for our viewers, you've heard a lot of practical strategies that can help all of us lead more effectively, not only in business, but in your personal life. You can be this stuff is just not for business. It makes you a better person so we can live more intentionally. So I want to thank our guests, Elaine, Rhonda, Ilka, Mrs. Spivey, and our co-host, and Marsha, for all the things that you've done. And I'm Gary Johnson for the Thought Brothers, and that's our show for tonight. We'll see you next week. We're out of here.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks,
Night.
everyone.
Thanks.